So Dana, why don't you introduce yourself to those who don't know you?
Yeah, hi Chris. I'm so excited to be here today. I'm Dana Martinez. I am a licensed professional counselor in the Brazos Valley and started private practice in February. And so have an office near downtown Bryan now, loving every second of getting to work with my clients. Been doing this for about 6 years. So super, super excited to be here.
Yeah, so let's dive right in. So, one thing that we see a lot of in my area too, and especially yours, is stress. I mean, it's something that you know, how I hound it so hard for my clients because it's something that I've noticed can make or break a diet. It's something that I've noticed that can make or break, habits that go into the diet, and to create positive habits going forward to keep progressing. So, why is stress management so important from your side?
Oh man, I mean, I think, learning how to cope with everything that goes on in our lives is just really important. I mean, to have a balance, and I really take a mind, body, soul approach to therapy. I think for a while I kind of only did the mind, talk therapy, believing that if I could just help people change the way they think, that everything was going to be okay. But I think what I've learned after COVID is that we are all just under so much stress, all the areas, right? Yes, training your brain, yes, but it also takes, how do I help that are going to best work for their lifestyle, but they have to find them, right? We
Right.
have to list, and we have to get better at self-care. What I see a lot with women, and the roles that we're all in, as a wife, as a mom, as a business person, a daughter, a sister, is that we will pour out, but we are really bad at
Yeah.
taking care of health. Yeah, so really helping women and men as well, but find what are these things after I kind of teach you, what's going to really get the best bang for your buck. What are the ones that you can commit to doing every day? And that's just super important for all of us to manage stress.
Yeah, for sure. And Chrissy's talking about the holistic approach. And that's something that I hold dear to my heart.
Mm.
I have family members who have, just medication on medication on medication, and it doesn't seem to do any good. You're throwing a band-aid on it, but you're not fixing the root problem. And that's one thing that I really, really enjoy about your work is the holistic approach. So why do you prefer the holistic approach over,
Wow. Yeah.
having someone just take medication, for whatever it might be?
I think personally also I have had family members that I've been on this holistic journey now for years, in my own health. And so it's just really hard not to be passionate when I've seen it be the best way to treat mental health. I mean, anecdotally in clients I see every day, them getting off of a medication and feeling better than
Yeah.
they did. Learning that they are not their diagnosis, that their brain is not broken forever and they're stuck in this diagnosis, but to be told, hey, there's actually deficiencies probably going on
Hmm.
in supplements and what you're eating. And hey, I really think we could probably find a better way to do that.
Yeah.
Just knowing that there's 183 neurotransmitters that are working in our brain that affect our mental health, and 8 of them are really big in anxiety.
Hmm.
I mean, let's just logically look at that for a second and say, okay, so we have antidepressants and anti-anxieties that are working on 2 of those.
Yeah.
2 transmitters, right? So nobody's talking about GABA and acetylcholine and all of the other ones that really need to be doing well too. And
Yeah.
so what I see a lot is people get on a medication and then they think they're even more broken than they were when they went to the doctor, because now this medication isn't working and they're getting worse. And so they start to feel like, well, there's something wrong. And so I think my passion is just to help people go, you are not broken. And you don't always have to have a medicine to be the thing that's going to make you feel better. And so I
Yeah, for
think just
sure.
like helping people find those answers. Yes.
Yeah, and a lot of the times when and I don't know if it happens to you too, people who know what I do for a living, like when they see me, they just feel the need to, I don't even ask, like, how's your diet? They're just like, hey, how's it going? Man, you know what? My diet's been shit lately, or man, stress has been crazy. And they feel the need to tell us these things. That's just kind of, it comes along with our profession.
Yeah.
Vanessa says, what is a holistic approach? I'm going to answer this how I would answer it. I'll let you answer with yours too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So my approach with the holistic method is going back to the root cause. So like if someone comes to me and say, hey, I got blood work done, my hormone is, my thyroid's deficient. Okay, well, I don't say, go to your doctor and have them put you on T4, because I mean, every doctor does that, and you'll feel better for 2 weeks, and then you feel the same for years on end. But I look at why. You're probably deficient in iron, probably iron, selenium, iodine. Those things play a role in the thyroid production. A lot of the times, it's stress. So we'll work on stress management, because stress can lower T4 to T3 conversion. And for those that don't know, T3 is the main thyroid hormone that we look at. So if T3 is low and it converts to reverse T3, you're looking at the T3 I would consider the gas to our vehicles, and reverse T3 the brakes, right? So you need both to travel.
Right.
But
right.
When you reverse T3 is a little bit high, I also see there's a lot of correlation with stress being high with our cortisol. So that's where the holistic approach comes in, is going in and working on the things that we can work on to help you get these things done naturally by yourself without having the need for medication. And again, like you said, not identifying as your diagnosis, because some people will just out tell you, I'm diabetic. Okay, well, I didn't ask if you were diabetic, but cool, like they're identifying as their diagnosis before they even tell you how their life is going. So that's how I would describe it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I absolutely, going back to the root, looking for, what's really going on. I think before I really started taking a holistic approach to mental health, I was only looking at, the problems in someone's life or their past trauma, which is all very valid. And I do a lot of work with trauma. But what I was failing to not see is what's really going on deficiency wise and in their body, right? And really understanding. So that mind, body, soul approach, like I'm looking at how do I help them incorporate breathing and activate parasympathetic nervous system single day. I'm also helping them, talk about what their family of origin has looked like in their past and what patterns they're still bringing into their 30s and 40s. Also you eating, helping them understand if you have anxiety, you're not broken. Your brain's actually working too good. And it's learned over your time that it needs to do that because it's associating all sorts of things to fears from our past, right? So helping people understand, okay, we're not trying to heal anxiety perfectly, because if you didn't have anxiety, you wouldn't be alive. Like, we need our amygdala to work. We just don't want it to work as good. And so helping people go, okay, well, how do I do that? How do I activate my parasympathetic and get out of my sympathetic nervous system more? So that's kind of that mind, body, soul approach. Before I would only look at maybe counseling theories, right, to help me in how I help somebody with anxiety. But now I'm looking at, hey, what supplements are you taking? Have you gone to get your blood work done by a functional medicine doctor? Oh, are you low in magnesium and vitamin D? Well, most people are. And oh, by the way, those are direct correlated to depression and anxiety. So being able to be that kind of therapist now and getting a certification in integrative medicine on top of just being an LPC, to me has just deepened everything that I get to do in this room, which is a sacred space, and it helps people feel safe and they can start talking about things that are hard. But if I only spend that hour a week talking about what's hard and giving them a few thought tools and things like that, and we're not really ever getting, to your point, the root, then they're just going to keep coming to me over and over, and still their body feels taxed, stressed, tired, their anxiety's through the roof. And so what I would see a lot with that is they would start to get frustrated, go to the doctor, and just get on a medication. Because we know on some level that can be a quick fix for some people. And
Right.
so they start to feel better, but they never, to your point again, fixed anything going on with the roots. And so
Yeah.
for me, it's like, how do I help them really get a really good picture of that, understand what's really going on in our body, why trauma, why they have pain. I mean, we know so much chronic pain is due to unresolved trauma in our body. It's stored there, and we got to help them get that out, right? Cardio
Right.
exercise, 15 minutes 3 times a week, super great for that. But
Right.
before I really understood enough of that whole approach to be able to do that. Now I can't unsee it. Now
Yeah.
everybody I work with, and I'm sure you feel the same way, everybody you work with now, you got to understand that whole picture, because if you just go in one space, you're not going to get them the healing they want. And
Yeah.
that's my now. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's kind of like I talk about the thyroid. You know, when you talk about the thyroid, you have to talk about the cortisol. When we talk about cortisol, you have to talk about estrogen and testosterone, and everything kind of works together in one big picture, like you said. And yeah, like you said, you're talking about GABA and N-acetylcholine, NAC. You know, those are really, really good, cheap supplements that everyone can take. You know, to help you sleep better. You'll get your detox pathways optimized. You know, um,
Yeah.
and one thing I really, really enjoy is the box breathing, like you preach too, and putting our body back in a parasympathetic state. So for those that don't know what those two are, sympathetic state means, you know, like a stress-driven state. It's a good state to be in because it's kept us alive for thousands of years, right? It's kept us very alert, especially the males who had to go out and hunt. And the way I do a lot of my business and approach is from a very primitive state. What kept us alive then, right, is keeping us alive now. So,
Right.
you know, we had to be the hunters. We had to be very aware. We had to fight or flight, you know, or leave or haul ass and get out of there. So, and that's the sympathetic state. So when you're working out, take a pre-workout. That's a sympathetic state. It's a stress-driven state.
Yep.
And one thing I preach to a lot of my clients is to get back into a parasympathetic state, which means rest and digest. Box breathe, right? When you're done training, like the point is to go in, train, get that stress, and get out. So before you eat, have them box breathe because they need to get out of that sympathetic state into that parasympathetic state. And a lot of the times when they eat, like, oh man, I'm just so bloated, you know, and I can't digest. Well, a lot of times if they take 2 or 3 minutes of box breathing, relaxing, and you can literally feel your shoulders fall and that tension come out of your traps, then you're ready, you know. And I do it before bed too. You know, I'll take a warm shower, a hot shower, or a hot bath, and I sit there, close my eyes, and I just take a deep breath for 2 or 3 seconds, hold it for 2 or 3 seconds, and release for 2 or 3 seconds. You do that 5 times, you know, in a row, maybe 2 or 3 minutes straight. And a lot of the times, you know, it's going to help you get there, and you just, you know, you can think clear. It's almost like a head high when you've reached that state where you just totally relax.
Exactly right. Yes. And I do that too. So one of the ones I teach clients is the alternate nostril breathing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's really where you cover one, breathe in, hold it,
Yep.
and then release. And so some of the things that are super important with that is we're looking for about 6 to 8 breaths a minute. So we're really slowing it down because normally we breathe 12 to 15 a minute. So you're really practice slowing that down. You want your exhale to be twice as long for as long as it can than your inhale. And you're right. You will hit that place where you feel like you could breathe in almost forever. And I always tell clients that's when you're really hitting that parasympathetic. Another way is to do cold exposure. I'll tell clients, get in the habit every time you take your hot shower, turn it to as cold as you can at the very end. Do just your head, and you will be this forced deep breath that happens. That's sending in. So what we're trying to do when we access all of that is we're helping our brain remember. You have a whole nother nervous system that you can go in that is not about stress. And so that is our body communicating to the amygdala. What I tell clients all the time is if we could just tell ourselves to calm down, if we could just tell ourselves breathe and everything's going to be okay, and our brain actually heard it, great. But that's not what happens. Our amygdala cannot understand our words. So we have to incorporate these body things that make the amygdala go, hey guys, hey everybody, she's good right now. Like she's good. Have to be sounding any alarms. We don't have to be in an anxiety state. And so if you can do a few of these things 10 minutes a day, I mean, that's really all we're talking about. And after 10 days, you really start to rewire that part of your brain. That's transforming for people. I mean, I have clients that tell me just the breathing alone has changed their life. So know some of it sounds hokey, and I'll tell clients at first, like, some of this stuff sounds crazy. I get it. Like, it's almost too easy, but it works. You know, one of the things I think that you probably already know, but was so interesting to me just recently, teaching people about how to access parasympathetic. I read, so you can literally throw yourself back into sympathetic, back into fight flight mode if you allow blood sugar to spike or drop. So eating every 30 minutes, an hour is so important. I mean, what? For our mental health, not just for our physical health. So I'll tell clients, get you some seeds, get you some nuts, get you a protein bar. Don't let it be a lot of sugar. Don't let it be a lot of carbs. Find something that's got some protein that you can carry with you all the time. I try to model that in session with clients. I always have snacks in session. I consistently eat a snack all throughout the day. So I'm keeping my blood sugar balanced, but in that, you're not throwing yourself into fight or flight response, which is so important for anxiety. Yeah,
and especially if it's very protein driven, it's going to be a very acute spike in blood sugar. So it's like up and down, up and down. It's not too high for too long and all that. So 100%. So one question that Cecily asked is, so our diet can affect our mental health too, right? With stress, anxiety, etc.
Diet affects everything. And so, you know, I always say start slow with that. You know, you're not going to be like me. I'm 47 years old. I've been on this journey for a lot of years. So I say start one thing a day. You know, start increasing your water intake. Take off any sodas. Really limit sugar, right? We know there are so many of these things that spike our anxiety, that cause depression. Why is some of that happening? Well, when we feed ourselves crap, which is pretty much what the American diet is. I mean, I hate to say it, but in most restaurants, even not even all fast food, right? All the stuff in the grocery store and middle part of the store is processed food. And so when your gut is not healthy, you really have a direct relationship to poor mental health. So poor diet affects mental health. I mean, it's a direct relationship. Well, why is that? Do what? Say again?
And we have that vagus nerve too that connects the gut to the brain.
Absolutely. And so when we know 95% of our serotonin is made in our gut, when a huge portion of our GABA, which is our calming neurotransmitter, is formed in our gut, it has to be able to make it to the brain. Well, if we're not making enough down here because our diet is so poor, and that's why I'm so, I think, big into supplements, because even if you are a clean, organic, you're trying your hardest to eat everything you can eat, there are just certain things like selenium, like minerals, that we're just not going to get in our food anymore. And so to me, the amino acids, the minerals, those are super, super important. But when you heal your gut, oh my goodness, your mental health will always improve. Oh, absolutely. A good probiotic. I mean, there's so many things we could talk about there, right? But yes, diet is super, super important.
Yeah, for sure. And that's one thing we do in my household. We hold dear to our hearts is, you know, does it make a difference overall? Yes, it might be 1 or 2%. That's what we're looking for. And we go, you know, as much grass-fed as we can. Grass-fed is pasture-raised chickens, you know, organic and things like that. And when you look into most of the research, they say it doesn't matter. But Micronutrient wise, maybe not, but overall, it's what your food is exposed to, right? Would you rather eat a cow who's, eating what God made them to eat, right? The grass, or stuck in a cage, stressed all day, and fed just cornmeal or whatever, right?
Yep.
Things that they weren't originally meant to eat, and they're in the stressed state all the time. So, and we all know how the conditions are in those. I mean, no one's dumb. We know what goes on with the cattle industry and the chicken industry and stuff like that. But
Yep.
yeah, and that with supplementation, you were talking about getting selenium in. I think one of the only ways to get 100% selenium in of your daily value is to get maybe Brazil nuts or walnuts. One of those that has it all. But even then,
Wow.
like, who carries Brazil nuts on them, right? Or walnuts on them at all times. So
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. And cutting out sugar is the biggest thing. Now, when we say cut out sugar, we don't mean don't eat fruit. We're obviously advocates to eat fruit and everything. But I noticed myself, there's periods of times where I would just, birthdays here, that there, I'll have cake and stuff like that. But I do notice that my heart rate's a little higher when I have just processed sugars and things like that. Me personally, I've been in tune with my body like this for years now, so I can tell. And again, it sounds loopy, for those that are like, oh, whatever. But when you make that switch to literally just cutting out all processed sugar, and eating the fruits and vegetables and nothing but whole foods, you can tell a difference in your body. And it's like, some people will say when they cut out having 3 Cokes a day, they get headaches. Well, there you go, right? You can tell because your body's not dependent on that sugar anymore. So making that small switch, and like you said, starting small, cut out the sodas, cut out all the bullshit, like be straight up, cut out all the bullshit. You know what it is, and I come from a background where flexible dieting is huge, and it works 100%. It works. Flexible dieting, count calories overall, for the most part, sure. If you want to get to your goals, counting calories, cool. Hitting macros, but everybody knows that there's a certain point where you should have mostly whole foods, and then that's where health issues can come into it. So another question I had gotten on my Instagram is, why does stress matter in your programs? And I'll start there and I'll let you go.
Yeah.
So one reason why stress matters in my programs, like I said earlier, it affects your thyroid, it affects your testosterone, your estrogen, and when those things happen, especially if someone is estrogen dominant, for example. If someone is estrogen dominant and, they're gaining weight, most likely they're going to gain weight in the lower abs, buttocks, thighs, that they get that pear shape, right? We've all seen the pear-shaped body where it's not, like for a female, it's not the hourglass, right? It's the pear shape. So that's where a lot of the fat will accumulate there if someone is estrogen dominant. Now, one way to get that is, to get that under control is you can supplement NAC to get your detox pathways going again, for sure. And 2, stress. Like, stress will definitely cause you to be estrogen dominant. Why? Because stress and progesterone run off the same pathway. So if stress is super high, there's no way for your progesterone to get where it needs to be for your monthly cycle. So your progesterone is tanked because cortisol is so high, and then next thing you know, you're estrogen dominant for so long, and you wonder why things don't work the way they used to. You had a regular cycle, now you don't. You gain a lot of fat around the abdomen area, and then next thing you know, you can't sleep, and when you can't sleep, you have higher blood sugar. You have higher blood sugar, you have higher insulin, and it starts, right? And a lot of it is just stress management. And that's why I preach stress management so much in my programs.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think same thing. I mean, if we, can't cope with the stress of our life, it's going to show up in our body, and it's going to show up in our health, and it's going to show up in how we feel. And at the end of the day, I do what I do personally, and I eat the way I eat, and I take supplements the way I take them because I chase feeling the way I feel. And that's good. And I've been on the other end of feeling tired all the time, depressed, anxious. I in my 20s that way, and I don't want to ever feel that way again. And so it becomes this feeling of I've got to manage stress. I've got to take care of myself first before I can take care of other people. And so yeah, and I would go back to the hormone stuff. That is what I see so much, helping people kind of make the connection between their cycles, their period stuff, their PMS stuff to their mental health. I cannot tell you how many clients have, as we talk about the history of their depression or the history of their anxiety, can take me back to, wow, that was about the same month I got on birth control, or that was the time that I stopped birth control, or all of the things. I've had clients say to me, yeah, I don't think I want to go get my hormones checked. I'm not okay with being on a bioidentical hormone. And I say to them, being on a birth control pill, like,
Yeah.
what's going on, right? And so there's so much of our hormones that affect. I've had so many clients, I cannot tell you, that come in here high anxiety, high depression. They go get their hormones checked, they're low in progesterone, they get on progesterone, and I get texts at 10 o'clock at night saying, Dana, I wish I would have done that a year ago. I wish I would have known to do that 6 months ago. It's changed my life. So then they are able to come back in, and we really are able to work on those things now that they feel better. Because when you feel better, you can do better in all your life. Now I got the energy to go exercise. Now I've got the energy to try those more water today,
Yeah.
or to try one thing, right? But when you don't feel good, what
Yeah.
where are you pulling that energy from to do anything different? And so that's the other part, is helping people go, let's figure out what we can change balance wise in your body. Is it thyroid? Is it low supplement stuff? Is it low hormone? Then we can start talking about that relationship that's toxic. Then we can start talking about how you've got energy now. Where are you going to put it that takes care of you? Right? But before, it's very difficult to, yeah.
Thank you, Dana, for joining me today. And for the rest of you, be on the lookout for another episode of Live with Science and Gains.